Extruded text and shapes can have transparency or some degree of transparency and an index of refraction, meaning they can bend light. They can look realistic, like large chunks of glass over a background. They really are remarkable. To see how this works, go to Working Files and go to After Effects Projects and open up 2102 Transparency Refraction. We're going to work with the shape layer and this text layer over this background. Let's start by making the shape layer 3D by clicking on this little 3D switch there next to it. You get the light falling on it already. And going up here to the corner and clicking on that button to switch over to the Ray Trace 3D renderer. There we go. Clicking OK. All right, now I want to extrude this a little bit, so I'll click on Shape Layer and press AA to open up the 3D options. Let's make the extrusion significant so we can see it. There we go, pretty obvious. And we'll rotate it a little bit here. Press the W key and pull this guy around like that. All right. Tip it up a little bit maybe so we can see it. I have a nice concave bevel, make it pretty large. So it's pretty obvious. There we go. All right, now we've seen this before, but what happens if we turn on transparency? I'm going to turn off the geometry options and look at the material options and scroll down a little ways. All the way there you see the transparency, roll off, and index of refraction. Transparency roll-off is kind of a subtle feature, so we're not going to cover that one. But transparency, we definitely are. I want to pull this thing down so it's in front of these flowers like that. Let's start making it transparent and see what happens. Start increasing it. Look at, you can see the background there. You see the bevel showing through and see the flowers showing through. Is that great? And if you rotate this guy, hold on the W key here and rotate a little bit, you can see how it responds to the background, as if it's reflecting off the light there with the light shining on it, and also shining through to show the background. It's just wonderful how that works. I'll drag it over to the roses there, or whatever those guys are. Red flowers, folks. I'm not an expert on botany. Hold on the W key and curl that around, see how it responds again, depending on the angle of the light that's hitting it. Pretty great. Take the transparency to 100%, zoom in like that. That's entirely the light reflecting off it. Again, light shining through it there. If I go in close on it, I'll take the transparency back down a little ways here and zoom in a little bit. Control Command plus a couple times. Drag over and you can see how the bevel works against the background there. How you can see the bevel in back versus the front of it. Very nice. Curl up a little bit like that again. Okay. So what's this index of refraction? Let me just start working with that. That bends light that's coming through it. Now the layer behind it has to be 3D. I'll close this down for just a second so you can see that. Right now that layer is not 3D, so let's see what happens if I change the refraction index here. 1 means you're seeing no change at all. Anything greater than 1 means you start seeing light bending. I'm going to do this here, and you can see the light bending on how the refraction works with the bevel in the back, but it's not changing what you're seeing through it because the layer behind it is not 3D. So let's just go down there and change that layer to 3D. There you go. And now let's see what happens. We're going to start bending the light when it comes through there. The layer cut our guy off there a little bit. Let me take those flowers and move them back a little bit by pressing P for position. And we'll just move them back away so they don't cut off our shape. There we go. Let me just slide that over a little bit by taking it to the left there like that. And now let's see how this guy looks when we start changing the index of refraction. Watch the flowers here as we go forward. Look at how that changes as we bend the light more and more there. Since we're toward the edge of the image, let me slide this farther to the left. There you go, so we don't see the edge anymore. Is that great? So you can see how it can bend, and if you do get to the edge, you probably need to expand the scale of this guy. So let me go to flowers, press Shift S for scale, increase the scale on this thing quite a bit so it doesn't have to fall over the edge like that. So index of refraction for air is 1, so basically no change. But as you go to higher numbers, it turns in like the refraction values for, let's say, a diamond or for water or something like that. But you know that when you're underwater, looking at things underwater, things look bigger than they really are. That's because of the refraction. So this thing reacts realistically as if it were a large piece of glass over the background. I just love how that works. And of course, as you rotate it around, it continues to do this kind of change. It continues to have that lovely little change in values as you move it around and responds to its background. Very cool. The same kind of thing happens with text. Let me just go Shift / and let's get this guy expand a little bit more so we don't have to worry about the edge showing up there. There we go. Slide it over a little bit so we can have it behind the text. Let's take a look at the text. Make it 3D, extrude it by going to its material options and its geometry options, AA. make its depth fairly significant. I think I'll turn off that shape layer so we don't have to worry about rendering that every time we do something here. So let me just go up here and turn off that shape layer. There we go, and go back to text and have that extrusion be that size like that. Give it a nice fat bevel so you can really see how these guys respond to each other. Take that up like so. And then let's zoom in on this just a bit. Control Command plus and pull you up a little bit. And I think we're going to want to move this guy up so you can see it over the red flowers. There we go. Now let's just see how this looks over those flowers. Go down here to the material options, scroll on down to the transparency, start making it transparent. Let's see how it looks as we go transparent here and see those flowers coming through. What's cool about working with colors like this, right now the blue has kind of a silvery cast to it. Let's say you just want to change the color. So we need to see the character panel. So I go Window, Character, change the color from blue to something, let's say more toward gold. Look at that. Click on my rotate tool there and rotate you around a little bit. Is that not beautiful? Excellent. Let's try out the index of refraction. Let's look at those flowers right there along the edge and see how that changes, and also see how the background changes as we raise the index of refraction. See how those guys have that appearance of moving through the glass? Excellent. 1.73 is pretty high as indexes of refraction go. More realistic one that's kind of subtle is somewhere between 1.0 and 1.3, right around there. So not only can you extrude text and shapes, you can have this level of transparency and have an index of refraction that gives them this realistic look over things in the background.